everyone, Algelger the SideQuest Gamer here, and I have a question for you. Are you sick of this Sonic Marathon? Do you want to see me review something else? Well, good news, kiddies! I will be reviewing something else next month, but hey, we gotta complete this marathon. And as much as I love the Sonic games, marathon is kind of a huge task. But this is the last part of the Sonic Marathon, and as you all know, it's Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The Sonic game that either fans say is the best Sonic game or one of the best Sonic games. And if you've seen my top 10 list a few days ago, you know that this is my #1 pick. Here's why. I know, as cliche as it is, I love this game, but not initially. Basically, by the time I got to this game when playing all the classic Sonic games when I was like 16, I preferred 2 for its speed, but by the time I got to 3, I just remember hating the underwater level and rage quitting after that. But then last spring, I decided to pick up and play this game all the way through to the end with all the Chaos and Super Emeralds. I can easily say not only is this the best Sonic game I've ever played, but also one of the best games, period. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a side-scrolling platformer that was developed by Sonic Team and released in 1994 for the Sega Genesis. They were originally going to be one game on one cartridge, but due to the limitations of the 32 megabit cartridge, they had to separate the games into 2 different cartridges. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and 6 months later, Sonic and Knuckles. They were both released in 1994 and probably confused some kids with the weird shape of the cartridge, but knowing both cartridges sold very well, I think Sega handled marketing well for the most part. Interestingly enough, one of the concepts for this game was an isometric 3D platformer, but Sonic Team thought that would deviate too much to be a sequel, so that idea was scrapped and was later used in the 1995 game Sonic 3D Blast. Even though I said Sonic 3D Blast was okay, I'm very glad they stuck with the traditional route, because there is such thing as a game that is too ambitious. Now, before I go further into this review, what I mean by lockdown is that the Sonic & Knuckles expansion cartridge had a second connection point on top of the cartridge where Sonic 3 would go on top of in order to lock on and play the complete Sonic the Hedgehog 3 adventure. It's still pretty cool because it's like DLC in the form of a cartridge, but unlike most DLC, you actually get your money's worth with this expansion, since not only expands, it also can change how the existing game could play with the addition of Knuckles campaign, and the fact that if you lock Sonic 2 on top of it, you can also play Knuckles in Sonic 2. And if you lock on Sonic 1 on top of the Sonic & Knuckles cart, you get to play Blue Spear, which is basically the entire special stage in its own game. You can play Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles separately, which I originally did, which is why I didn't care for it initially. But when you do that with Sonic 3, the final boss would be Big Arm at the launch base zone, and then the Death Egg falls back down on the volcano. And when you do that with Sonic & Knuckles, the game ends on Death Egg Zone for Sonic's campaign and Sky Sanctuary Zone for Knuckles' campaign. Also, when you play Sonic & Knuckles not locked on, when you play as Sonic, Tails is not with you, nor is he even a playable character. Another thing is that when it's not locked on, the save system in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is absent, meaning you have to beat the game in one sitting, which was okay for Sonic 1 and 2, since their levels were built around that, but like Sonic 3, the Sonic & Knuckles levels are massive and really meant to be saved in between. And when Sonic 3 isn't locked on, you can't play Knuckles' solo campaign, which is slightly different in terms of gameplay, and very different in terms of story. So while Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles are playable by themselves, they kind of felt incomplete when not locked on. I mean, Sonic 3 by itself is still better than Sonic 2 in my opinion, but I don't know, with only 6 zones divided into 2 acts, that's a very short game. I mean, you could probably beat it in less than an hour. And when you see the ending, which is only like 3 seconds, it just felt underwhelming. And Sonic & Knuckles by itself, well, it has more zones than Sonic 3 by itself. It doesn't have the save feature and goes back to the beat in one sitting. But knowing it was marketed as an expansion pack rather than a game itself, I can't really complain about that. After all, it would cost more to put a save battery into Sonic and Knuckles.
By different story, I don't mean figuratively, I mean literally. In Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the game begins with Sonic 3's beginning, where Sonic and Tails travel to the Angel Island, aka the Floating Islands, with Sonic being Super Sonic. Super Sonic then can destroy many enemies, but for some reason, echidnas are like Super Sonic's kryptonite, and this echidna named Knuckles knocks Super Sonic out and takes all of his Chaos Emeralds to his mysterious ally.
Guess who? Well, knowing that you've seen him at the end of Angel Island Act 2, we all know it's Robotnik.
There's also another story exclusive to Knuckles' solo campaign. While Knuckles is Sonic's secondary antagonist in the game, Knuckles' campaign shows that he's not doing it to be a jerk. Basically, at the ending of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the iOS and Android versions, Robotnik is seen crashing on an island, and he's seen stamping his feet angrily with Knuckles peering at him from the bushes. And basically, Robotnik then introduces himself to Knuckles and tells his made-up story of how Sonic is after the island's Master Emerald. Since Knuckles is the last of his Echidna civilization, he's the guardian of the island's Master Emerald, and he is sworn to protect it, no matter what. And since Robotnik being the sneaky villain he is, he even constructed a robot to look like Sonic, and that would be the rebuilt Mecha Sonic. Basically, in Knuckles' campaign, the bosses are not piloted by Robotnik, but instead his egg robos, but are pretty much the same bosses as Sonic's campaign, but slightly harder with Knuckles' abilities and all. And the final boss for Knuckles would be Mecha Sonic at Sky's Sanctuary Zone, which has a few phases exclusive only to Knuckles' campaign. Tails can also be played solo, and while Sonic's campaign is medium difficulty and Knuckles is the harder campaign in the game, Tails is pretty easy since he can fly everywhere with his helicopter spin, but in terms of story, there is none.
Campaigns for each character in the game, and the Chaos and Super Emeralds just adds loads of replayability to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, more so than Sonic 1, 2, and CD combined.
However, the level design makes the game significantly slower than Sonic 2, but that's okay in my opinion. Sonic to me isn't just about speed, it's a marriage of speed and platforming at a perfect balance. New to this game is that every act has a boss battle, although while Act 2 is a Robotnik fight, you do fight one of his programmed mechs at the end of Act 1, and they can actually put up quite a fight. Angel Island Zone is the perfect starting level, and this level is very cinematic. Towards the end of Act 1, the zone's mini-boss basically sets the tropical island aflame, and later you try to avoid Robotnik's airship trying to bomb you. And some fans speculated that that's actually the flying battery that you see later in Sonic and Knuckles. But Angel Island is a pretty nice zone to start out with. It's very cinematic, and it's definitely going to get you into the game. But it's not as fast as Emerald Hill Zone, but I like it better this way. Hydrocity Zone, I hated when I first played it, and now only Act 1 is the slow underwater level. Not as bad as Labyrinth Zone, but pretty annoying. Act 2 is more on the surface and it's very fast with the twists and boosts in the level, and I do like Act 2, but I really don't care for Act 1. But at least the whole zone isn't annoying, just half of it. Marble Garden Zone I thought was decent, but those spinning platforms were pretty annoying and kind of tricky to control for first-timers at least. Carnival Night Zone is basically Casino Night Zone, with Act 2 being underwater occasionally. This zone was fun, but really long. Seriously, I actually died once from going overtime on Act 2. Although those up and down cylinder platforms are pretty annoying to control because you like control it up and down with the directional buttons in order to make it gain momentum, but if Tails hops slightly on it, then the whole thing loses momentum and you have to restart all over again in trying to make it gain momentum and launch you into the air. Now, Ice Cap Zone begins with a brief snowboarding side-scrolling segment, and then the rest of the 2 acts are just a typical side-scrolling route. I actually found this to be the trickiest zone in the game, even though it doesn't have the typical slipperiness of a normal ice level. But those swinging platforms took forever to master, and then there's like those spikes on the side of it, on the top, and it's just, I lost so many rings and died from that. But if you master it, this level was not too bad. And then there's Launch Base Zone, which was okay for the final zone in Sonic 3 cartridge. It was funny to see Knuckles fall off the girder after taunting Sonic, but this final level is actually easy compared to the likes of Scrap Brain Zone in Sonic 1 or Wing Fortress Zone in Sonic 2. If it's not locked on, you fight the Big Arm as the final boss, which is by far the best Robotnik fight in the trilogy in my opinion. However, if it's locked on, you fight the Robotnik's laser column instead, unless you're playing as Knuckles in the locked on game. And that's it for the Sonic 3 levels. Now we'll move on to the Sonic and Knuckles levels. And let me tell you, these levels are a little better than the Sonic 3 levels, but they do feel like that they were meant for after the half of the game when you play it not locked on. Now, Mushroom Hill Zone in the Sonic & Knuckles cartridge is pretty cool and changes cosmetically in Act 2. I could make a Super Mario Mushroom Kingdom joke or reference here, but that would be way too easy. Anyways, the boss you run after while avoiding arches with spikes gives a 3D illusion, which I thought was cool, and the Pursue and Battle boss battle types in this zone was later used a lot in Sonic Advance 2. This was a really fun level. I wouldn't say it's a good starting level if you play Sonic & Knuckles by itself, but it's a really good level for the halfway point of the game, if you play the game locked on, of course. Flying Battery Zone was kind of cool, although beware of the fake animal capsules throughout the level. The swinging poles are pretty fun to swing on, but they're a bit tricky to master from going one pole to the other without getting hit by one of those propellers. But this zone is definitely one of my personal favorites in the game. Now, Sandalwood Zone is one of my more meh zones in the game. I didn't hate it like a lot of people did. I mean, it was kind of fun being like Indiana Jones swinging in the ancient ruins while avoiding booby traps. I really liked Act 1, but Act 2 is where the hate for it forms. Those ghosts and the rising sand and the limited lighting hazards can get a bit annoying, but after 5 or 6 lives lost, you'll get the hang of it. I didn't hate this zone like a lot of people did, and I thought that Hydrocity Zone was more annoying, but I didn't mind it. I really loved the mini-boss at the end of Act 1 since it was way different than any of the other boss fights in the franchise. Now, Lava Reef Zone was pretty tricky. I mean, the lava is the main hazard of this level, and the boss of Act 2 is really hard. Unless you have the Flame Shield power-up, then after 12 hits, Robotnik's defeated. One thing I like about this level is that in the title screen, you can see the Death Egg land on top of a volcano for the Sonic & Knuckles solo game, but in this zone you can actually see it looking downward, meaning you're in that volcano. It's just a nice touch and actually immerses you into the game. Then there's the actual Hidden Palace Zone, but this level is just one act and there's platforming, but at the end of that you're at the hub world you visited in the Super Ring, and this is where the story unfolds, which I won't spoil for you, but you fight Knuckles and then he becomes your ally, especially in the next zone.
SideQuest Gamer, you just spoiled that Knuckles became your ally.
Oh please, this game's over like 18 years old or something, and you know Knuckles becomes your friend. What am I exactly spoiling again? Sky Sanctuary Zone is by far my all-time favorite zone in the game. It's one act, but you fight Mecha Sonic, who rides Robotnik's hovercraft around the level. The first time you fight him, he emulates the first Robotnik fight from Green Hill Zone in Sonic 1. Then his second fight is emulating the Robotnik fight from Metropolis Zone in Sonic 2. Then his final battle in Sonic's campaign emulates his battle from the Death Egg Zone in Sonic 2, except he's a lot easier. You do fight him again in Knuckles Only Act 2 of Sky Sanctuary Zone, where he and Knuckles have a very climactic brawl to the death where Mecha Sonic even touches the Master Emerald. He becomes the Super Mecha Sonic temporarily, and that's really powerful. Definitely one of the hardest bosses in the game. Then, on Sonic's campaign, you're in the 2-act Death Egg Zone, which the first act is tricky, but not too bad. But stock up on rings to attempt item special stages in hopes of getting extra continues. You'll need them for Act 2, which has a gravity gimmick that takes a lot of getting used to. But the hardest part for me anyways, is those conveyor belt platformers with the wall spikes. If the spikes don't kill you, then being crushed underneath the wall spikes will. Just jump constantly on the conveyor platform is what I usually do. Then you get to the final boss with Robotnik, which at first he's controlling a gravity bot that deploys these spike cart thingies. Then you chase an abnormally speedy Robotnik into his giant mech that takes 2 phases to beat. And then if you at least have the first 7 Chaos Emeralds, you get to chase Robotnik as Supersonic. Or if you have all 14 zones, it's Hypersonic. But whichever you do, it will change the ending of the game. But in Doomsday Zone, which is only exclusive to the 7 Chaos Emeralds, you have to like chase Robotnik in an asteroid field, and it's basically a giant chase. The first phase, you try to get the missiles to hit himself, and then the second zone, he just chases Red Mech, and then that's how the game ends.
So overall, the levels were pretty fun to play. I mean, there were a few that I didn't care for, but the levels were not like the entire zone was bad, because it was usually just one act of that zone. Like for example, Sandopolis Zone Act 1 was fun, Sandopolis Zone Act 2 was challenging and kind of unenjoyable, but there was never that one zone like in Sonic 1 and 2 where it just felt like a miserable experience with all 2 and 3 acts. Like Metropolis Zone or Labyrinth Zone, for example.
One thing I'd like to point out is that there are 3 bonus stages. One is a pinball stage like in Sonic 1 where you try to rack up as many rings as possible in order to get an extra continue. The other is a gumball machine that you bounce off the levers in order to get turn the nozzle, and with good timing you can get it power up like a flame shield, bubble shield, or other things like extra rings. Then there's the swinging orb stage that the goal is to reach to the top, but on the way, you can pick up items like rings or power-ups. These stages are a pretty nice addition to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and they have a nice reward for reaching a checkpoint with 50 rings. Even though the save system eliminates the needs for continues, sometimes the continues are nice to have if you get a game over on a very hard level, and can start at the last checkpoint, so you can give, say, Death Egg Zone another go. Then there's the special stages that are accessed through super rings hidden throughout all the levels. There's at least 90 of them total in the entirety of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and if you complete or fail a special stage before finishing the game, the one you entered will disappear, but it will reappear after you finish the game locked on. These special stages are the best in the series in my opinion. Yes, they're tricky, but when you lose them, it's usually by your own fault and not the game's. The goal is to get all the blue orbs without touching the red ones. However, if you touch the blue orbs with blue orbs inside the perimeter, the red and blue orbs inside and out would turn into rings. Which is a pretty sweet deal, because if you get enough rings in the special stages, you'll also get a continue. You can jump over red orbs and bumpers, but beware the bumpers because they'll make you run backwards if you hit them. These special stages are challenging, but unlike Sonic 1 and 2 special stages, they're actually quite a fair challenge, and after you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds in the Sonic 3 stages, you can attempt the Super Emerald stages on the Sonic and Knuckles levels, which is, in my opinion, they're actually easier. If you get all 7 Chaos Emeralds, you become Super Sonic, and then you can unlock Doomsday Zone. But if you want to attempt to get the Super Emeralds, you'll have to give up that ability for the Hidden Palace Zone to give you access to them. But get all the Super Emeralds and you can become an even more powerful Hyper Sonic, which will give you the best ending in the game.
Hyper Sonic is exactly like Super Sonic, except even more broken, but way more powerful. I just love it. I love Hyper Sonic. Best power-up ever.
Since I'm the completionist type, this is a very nice reward for getting all the optional stuff. I was actually compelled to complete the game because I had so much fun with it. Now, you all know that you need to get the 14 Chaos and Super Emeralds to get the good ending for Sonic's campaign, but for Knuckles, the good ending is achieved by the Sky Sanctuary Zone, and to answer all questions, yes, you can play as Hyper Tails and Hyper Knuckles if you got all the Super Emeralds in their respective campaigns. And the special stages are no different for them, although they might be easier or harder due to their speed, but someone can probably confirm this in the comments section. I honestly didn't see a difference when playing the special stages with each character. Now, the music of the game is not as catchy as the Sonic 2 soundtrack or even the Sonic CD soundtrack, but it's still catchy nonetheless. The launch-based theme is pretty awesome. The Death Egg theme is electronic but appropriate for the setting. Not my favorite, but I liked it for what it was. My favorite theme in the game is Sky Sanctuary's theme. It's just so epic with what's going on in the level, and the music just accompanies that perfectly. The music had many composers, rumors saying Michael Jackson even had some involvement in it, but either hated the Genesis soundtrack quality or was asked to discontinue his services with the at the time scandal I'm not going to go into. But whether he contributed a few tracks or not in the final product is left to internet debate, but either way, he's uncredited in the game. Now, the original composer of Sonic 1 and 2 soundtrack, Masato Nakamura, he was originally going to do some of the soundtrack for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but due to a financial disagreement with Sega, he did not. Even though Sega dropped him, they remained on good terms. Although Nakamura would never again compose the dominant soundtrack of any other subsequent Sonic game after Sonic 2, he did contribute a remix of the Sonic 2 ending theme to the game Sonic 06. And he did allow Wavemaster to remix his soundtracks for this game Sonic Generations. Now, the graphics of the game are different than they were in Sonic 1, 2, or CD. Technically, they're better, but I'm not a fan of Sonic's new character design. The backgrounds are very nice to look at with its animations and such, but the textures can sometimes be identical to Sonic 2's, especially with Carnival Night looking a lot like Casino Night. But that's not really a bad thing, but it just feels like more of the same rather than something new. The graphics still look good to this day, and some of the game's zones do look different than any other Sonic game, but I do prefer Sonic's older character sprite than the new one. The controls of Sonic 3 and Knuckles are still there. The spin dash functions as well as it did in Sonic 2, and so that's a plus. Knuckles' glide and Tails' helicopter moves are, however, welcome additions to the franchise as they're later used in Sonic Adventure and the Sonic Advance trilogy. And overall, this game is a Sonic masterpiece. I would give this game the honorary 98 out of 100. All the minor problems I've had with Sonic 2 and CD are gone. Sonic 2 special stages aren't present in any form, except that 3 special stages kept the pseudo 3D aspect that Sonic 2 special stages tried to do, and even corrected the draw distance and gameplay. While CD's fun but short explorative vertical level design is kept in some levels, but made longer, as in like vertical and horizontal, to appease the people who just want to reach the end of the level in a timely manner, but not make it so short. And as a result, the levels are massive, but not too massive. And that's what a good platformer sequel should do. Keep everything that was good about its predecessors and adding to them with the addition of the much needed save system and the major story and gameplay differences of each playable character, since Tails and Knuckles can access areas Sonic can't. And for those reasons, that is why Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite Sonic game of all time. It's infinitely replayable like the previous games, but the save system makes the game much more forgiving than its predecessors. And if you haven't played those games, you definitely should put it on your list. I mean, even getting the games used on eBay is relatively cheap. Sonic 3 is like $11, and Sonic & Knuckles is even less than that, so you can actually play the original Genesis games for around $20, which is a really good deal. Although I recommend downloading this, although there is no mobile versions unfortunately. Although Taxman and Stealth expressed interest in remaking Sonic 3 for the mobile platforms, but Sega are not exactly on board for some unknown reasons. At least as of writing. It could be soon. I mean, Sonic's 25th birthday is coming up next year, and it would be a really wise move for Sega to allow Taxman and Stealth to remake the game for the mobile platforms. And with the money pit Sega dug itself into in recent years, it really cannot afford to take advantage of an opportunity like this.
That is all for this month. The classic Sonic Marathon is finally over. I mean, I did enjoy playing these games again and stuff, but the marathon, it took a lot out of me. But don't worry, next month will be a lot more fun because I'm going to add a little more variety. It is July's request month, where I basically take requests from various subscribers and commenters on my videos. And I've already selected 5 games from the requests, so it's too late to enter a new request, I'm sorry to say, but I can always take your new request for next request month, so please, leave a game you want me to review. Thank you all so much for watching 50 reviews. It's quite a lot. I mean, I started out in August as a guy who just wanted to review. I mean, it's every YouTuber's dream to hit 1 million, but that's not my dream anymore. I just want to make reviews. I just want to build a community, you know? I don't want to build an army or anything like that. Just a community I can talk with. And with almost 200 subscribers, I can't thank you guys enough. But again, thank you so much for watching 50 reviews, and remember to stay awesome.